Welcome back to 33-year-old boomer ranting in his cozy bed. Endless automation will lead to collapse. Let's talk about it. In Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, he talks about, and there's no major spoilers by the way, he describes a potential future galactic empire. In this universe, endless scientific breakthroughs have led to humans colonizing the stars and just generally being very big-brained. Links down below, by the way. The books are fantastic. So in this universe, this empire has a bureaucratic center. It is actually an entire planet called Trantor, whose entire purpose is to try and administer this massive empire that has been built. And the first book starts at a point where the empire is already in collapse. It has expanded greatly over centuries, and just like every other empire, it is currently in decline. You see, the very automation that had allowed this empire to grow, the endless automation that had allowed this empire to grow large, was now its downfall. You don't believe me? Consider this. You, the viewer, do you know how to make a fire? Do you know how to prepare an animal and turn it into food? At most, you are 1 to 2 generations away from your ancestors just being farmers, or at the very least, knowing how to do all these things. Think about it. You likely can't make a fire without matches or a lighter. It's obviously possible. Humans have been making fires since before they invented these things, and yet you don't know how to do them. And these are very basic things, by the way. The problem is that skills that become abstracted away will inevitably be forgotten. There are a lot of nerds on this channel, many of whom are really into programming. Some of you are fans of C, some of you are fans of JavaScript. However, I would wager that most of you, and this includes myself to some degree, don't know how to write assembly. I'm currently learning it because I think it is fascinating. However, most programmers are incapable of even reading assembly, let alone writing it. And we're not that far away from assembly. We're only a few decades away. We're only a few decades away from assembly just being the standard. And of course, languages like C, who are now considered to be low-level languages, used to be high-level languages a long time ago, because it was languages like C, which I enjoy very much, that abstracted away a lot of the quote-unquote toil that programmers would do. It allowed you to have a more human-friendly language instead of just writing in assembly. However, 50-something years later, we are at a point where skills such as writing assembly are quickly becoming forgotten. And that is a problem. To continue the parallel with the book, in this universe, pretty much every planet in the Empire had nuclear power plants. However, because of the crazy amount of automation over the generations, humans the nuclear scientists simply abstracted so many problems away that if anything went terribly wrong with the nuclear power stations, none of them knew how to fix them, because, of course, the newer generations of nuclear scientists, or the nuclear operators, they didn't have to deal with quote-unquote assembly. They dealt with Python. They dealt with tools that were very high level that abstracted a bunch of problems away. And if enough time passes, and especially if the amount of knowledge in the industry grows, you get to a point where the people who build the products, the people who maintain the nuclear power plants, they don't know how to build one. They don't know how the nuclear power plants work at a level that is lower than what they've been used to. And so the nuclear scientists, they become much like shamans, much like priests. They can fix some things, as long as the problem can be fixed at a high level, they can do it. They can maintain these nuclear power plants. But if anything ever goes wrong, well, the plants go kaboom. And in this universe of the Foundation, a number of planets eventually have to return to coal plants because their nuclear power plants had meltdowns, and the engineers just didn't know how to stop them. Now, for those of you who don't know who Isaac Asimov is or was, the first book, the one that I'm mostly talking about, was written in the 40s. And in fact, there are old books from the 50s which talk about automation and its dangers and how computers are automating more and more things. In fact, there's this fantastic channel on YouTube called Internet of Bugs, and a very smart man runs that channel. And very recently he made a video where he talked about, or he covered the fact that AI and the concept of AI and the concept of machines being better at some things than humans have been around since the 40s and the 50s. These things have been known for a while. Science fiction writers have been aware of this danger for a very long time. And my concern is that many people do not take it seriously. Most people consider automation to be a good thing, assuming it doesn't replace them. Many people will quote something along the lines of, a society grows greater the more of the drudgery becomes automated. I'm paraphrasing. And there is truth to that. However, at the same time, the system becomes more fragile. If you keep abstracting problems away, your life will become easier and more convenient in the short term. However, you will inevitably have to deal with the problems that come with the automation, with the loss of knowledge, with the fact that your newer generations of engineers will simply be less capable than the ones that built the technology to begin with. Because the new generation simply has to maintain the product. They don't have to build it. And that sounds great until you understand what that means. Until you understand that within 1 or 2 generations, most people forget skills that have been passed down since the dawn of man. Most people forget how to make a fire, how to farm, how to grow food, how to process animals into food. And the more this happens and the more people this applies to, the more brittle the structure of society becomes. Generally, automation can be good. However, if crucial skills are forgotten, you're going to be in big trouble. See you in the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you very much to our members who support this channel. Right now we have one. Hello. You can become a Chad, Mega Chad, or Giga Chad, and you can support the channel and you can get various perks like being able to see videos early or getting shout outs at the end of the videos.